can, wherever we can. We're talking hoops. And you know our guys will ramble.
Can you just email me the rest of this story?
This is Just Dubs with John Dickinson.
Dickinson's an underrated talent, 100%.
On KNBR 104.5 and 6.8. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
The 21st home win. Win number 36. They've won 3 in a row. The Warriors put 6 in double figures. And Wednesday and tonight have been fun.
All right, welcome in. Happy Saturday. It's Just Dubs, JD, John Dickinson. Are the Warriors back? I say kiddingly. That's how we started Dubs OT last night out at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. We've got Raph Corral. We've got Kyle Haar, and we've got the next 2 hours with you as we get you up until noon, and we'll give way to Giants baseball then as the Giants are coming up. Not till 4:15 today, though, against the Yankees series finale, but we got a lot of Giants coverage coming your way coming up at noon, but we'll get it started here. Couple hours of Dubs. Kyle Haar, good to be with you, man. Quick turnaround. Are the Warriors back with 3 consecutive wins over 3 tanking franchises?
Yeah, that's the thing. As feel good as these wins have been, you have to take it with a little grain of salt. You know, we played the Wizards, the Nets, and the Mavs, and the Mavs game kind of ended on a sour taste. I kind of forgot that we beat the Mavs because of how that ended with Moses Moody's injury. But before this 3-game stretch, they lost 8 of 9, and it wasn't looking good. But here we are, and they have a real shot at the 9 or 8 seed.
Here we are. Steph's still not back. Another rotation player down, and really, unfortunately, I mean, this really winds up being kind of a brutal week for the Warriors when you look at the grand scheme of you don't know still when Steph is going to be coming back exactly, although he is pushing still to return, but he hasn't gone through that 5-on-5 that supposedly he was going to be going through 6 days ago now on Sunday. Before the team went from Atlanta to Dallas. They lose another rotation player / starting player in Moses Moody for the bulk of next season, if not potentially the entirety of next season, although the early returns on that are that 9 to 12 months. So I think it is going to be on the table that Moses Moody can come back at some point if everything goes well with the rehab. And then, of course, Jimmy Butler being down for the last couple of months, and Steph hasn't played in 2 months. I mean, we are officially to the point where, I mean, this is beyond a quarter of the season that Stephen Curry has missed now. When you go back to January the 30th, he's not going to play tomorrow. Warriors do have 8 games left, 3 of them on the road, 5 of them at home. And the next game tomorrow night is in Denver. And then that's it. They play the 1 game in Denver. Then they have 5 home games all in a row, the final homestand of the season, and then they go and play the final 2 games on the road in Sacramento and against the Clippers down in Southern California, down in Inglewood at Intuit Dome, and then that's a wrap on the regular season. 2 weeks from tomorrow, we do know the Warriors are going to play at least 1 game beyond April the 12th, and that game will be in the play-in tournament, and we still don't know exactly where that's going to wind up being. Kyle, you mentioned it. The Warriors did pick up ground last night on Portland, as much as I know. Nobody cares, right? The 9-10 versus the 8-9. And I can't actually tell you that I'm all that locked in on, although it does mean the difference between, pulling up to Chase Center versus maybe hopping on a plane and going to Portland for your boy. But we'll see how it all ultimately shakes out.
Just yet.
But I still haven't, by the way. I still haven't. I know I told our guy Joseph Dickinson of the Mercury News on Monday, I think it was, or maybe it was, it was last week, actually. It was probably a week ago Friday, as the Warriors were losing in Detroit. Yeah, book that flight. We'll see. Although, again, with the schedule that the Warriors have coming up here and Steph's still not back, I mean, they did close the gap to within a half game of 9. But we had a caller, last night on Dubs OT that said, JD, like, come on, man, like, be honest. And it was a Keep It Real Friday last night on Dubs OT. You should go back, check it out. You can get it on YouTube. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts, as well as we get Just Dubs going here. But said, JD, like, let's be real. Like, what is this, like, where's this team going? And I said, well, if Steph comes back, maybe they're going to the first round, but they're getting beat again in 4 or 5 by whoever. So that, is the ceiling at this point. But yeah, tough week, even with the 3 victories. And I think that's a place to start. We got a lot to get into here between now and noon. We'll open up the phone lines, 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. The Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line is open as well. We do appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch, and we'll get to a bunch of comments as we often do here during the course of this 2-hour edition. And this is the first, Kyle, the first of 3 straight 2-hour editions here. Today, next Saturday, the following Saturday after that, the Giants are playing in the late afternoon or evening. And so we'll be with you from 10 until 12 before the Giants coverage comes, and then the season's going to be over, at least in terms of the regular season. So finishing strong. It's the stretch drive. I think we all would have anticipated Steph, or at least hoped that Steph would be back by now. Not quite, but continuing to push forward. And yeah, a lot to discuss here between the next 2 hours. A lot of injury updates, a lot of discussion, as we always like to have, Kyle, about the future. And, did the Moses Moody injury send you almost to a breaking point when it comes to just the ability for this team to make significant moves in the offseason that can try to work their way back to contender status? And that was a real tough one, not in that Moody was a foundational star player, but in that he had been somebody that the Warriors had developed in a meaningful way. And I think it took a little bit longer than most Warrior fans would have liked. And there were some ups and downs and frustrations. And, at times I think Moody was as frustrated with his role and the inability to get on the court as say, a Jonathan Kuminga had been. But the way he conducted himself and worked and made his game fit with what the Warriors were trying to do and the team construct, and just improved. The Warriors asked him to, work on his defensive, footwork and work on his quickness to be able to guard guards a little bit better, work on that 3-point shot, which was something that was going to be, a staple of his game, even coming out of college. But whatever it was that they asked him to work on, quicker decision-making, fewer turnovers, all of those things, Moses Moody got in the lab. Moses Moody put in the work, and Moses Moody made himself a player that was, I think, in some ways kind of indispensable when he went down, because you look at how the Warriors were kind of hanging in without Steph and without Jimmy there for a while. A big part of the reason why the Warriors were hanging in there was, they were playing some garbage teams. Let's be honest. But it was Moses Moody had stepped up, and Guy Santos had stepped up, and Al Horford was stepping up, and Melton was stepping up. But Moody, among all the young players, was the guy that really was, in some ways, having a breakout type season from the end of December when the Warriors got hot before Jimmy got hurt, and when he went down with the wrist injury that had kept him out before he came back, and sadly, tragically, at least in NBA terms, ends up with the patella injury in his first game back from the wrist injury.
Well, with Moody and specifically in that Dallas game, they don't win that game without Moody in the first place. Just kind of like they don't win last night's game without Porzingis. But with Moody, the Warriors don't have a player like him on the roster, that 3-and-D bigger wing kind of player, and that on-ball defender kind of player. So even though position-wise he could be replaceable with the Guy Santos and later on a Jimmy Butler or Will Richard, but but they like in terms of a 3-and-D guy, they don't have another 3-and-D guy on the roster.
No, and so they're trying to figure out. It's another add that to the list of things that you need in the offseason to try to remain competitive for next year, while also acknowledging, and I think this has been a big week. And by the way, Kyle, we got to switch the banner there.
Oh, yeah.
To just Dubs with JD here. I just noted. There we go. Look at that. Look at how quick that is to change. Look, it's easy. Just boom. You just toggle that bad boy back and forth. But yeah, seems like we always forget it on the late night Friday turnaround into Saturday shows. I feel like when we got a game on Friday night that goes late, that's when it's like, it just feels like it's Dubs OT, expanded Dubs OT. But it is interesting because the Warriors are also, I think, continuing to firm up here in what's been a pretty miserable season. I think without a doubt, given the way things have turned out, but they have, I think, firmed up, and we'll get into it here with what Kristaps Porzingis had to say about Rick Celebrini. Al Horford joined the telecast last night on NBC Sports Bay Area with Fitz and Kalena. Did he indicate that he's leaning toward opting in for his $6 million PO? He got the PO, not the TO, by the way, the player option for Big Al to come back at 40, which he will turn coming up on June the 3rd here. And, is he going to want to come back? Because I think as the Warriors lose a younger piece, they are, and we get into this almost every night on Dubs OT, they are, I think, confirming their need and desire to bring back a lot of, if not all, of the veteran role players that have really, been productive for them. And I think, when you start most recently, Kristaps Porzingis single-handedly twice now, I think, prevented them from losing here in the last couple of weeks to the Wizards, going for 30 and 28. Who cares, right? Kuminga dominated the Wizards. Porzingis dominated the Wizards to a greater extent. It's the Wizards. They gave up 83 to Bam. But I think the most important thing here, and there is some optimism, because look, I was as down as anybody. I didn't hate the trade. I actually kind of liked the trade with the potential for, hey, Porzingis can come in and help this team, and then maybe you can keep him for next year. So I liked it, but I was also the first to point out that the first couple of weeks, really the first month of the deal, but those first couple of weeks where Porzingis had come back and played the one game, and Kuminga was starting to play after missing time and looked really good, and a couple of games against the Wizards and the one other game, I think, against Portland, when Portland was missing a bunch of guys. It looked awful. That trade looked horrendous, those first couple of weeks. And look, that's just keeping it 100 like it did. Kuminga was playing well. And Porzingis, you're wondering, is he, with this mystery illness, even going to be able to start playing at all? And so I think that's, something where now you go back and you look, and we did this last night. Since the OKC game where he came back after so he played the first game out of the break, Boston, went down with the mystery illness game, and then it was going to be 2 games, and then it was going to be the next Saturday, and it wasn't, and then it turned into basically something that ended up being about 2.5 weeks before he was able to come back. But if you look at the last 3 weeks for Porzingis, and I'm not even going to get into the numbers, although we can in terms of the production, he plays in OKC in the return. He then doesn't play in Utah. That's the front end of a back-to-back. He plays against Chicago. Now, the Warriors lose that game miserably. And I think, those are the 2 games that I think have kind of led this thing off the rails here over the last few weeks, the inability to finish both of those games against a couple of teams that are tanking. But then he plays against Minnesota. He misses the game against the Knicks, which again is the front end of a back-to-back, so they get him a little extra rest there. But he plays the 3 games: Washington, Boston, Detroit. skips the Atlanta game, second of a back-to-back, plays the Dallas game, and then plays all week, plays Monday, plays Wednesday, plays Friday. So he, other than the back-to-back scenarios, has played every game, which I think is 100%. Like, because he's not playing back-to-backs no matter what, and I think you build into the plan for him that he's not going to be playing back-to-backs no matter what. He's played every other game that wasn't part of a back-to-back since he came back 3 weeks ago, and he's been extremely productive. Are we to the point now where, and I know we were joking about it last night, hey, the Warriors have won the trade? Again, Jonathan Kuminga, who's been pretty terrible for the most part the last couple weeks, minus a game, I think one game where he played pretty well last week. But forget about that part of it for the purposes of this conversation, because Kuminga does have some say in how the trade winds up looking based on what he does, and the Warriors cannot control that at this point. But from the Porzingis standpoint, do you need to see more? Like, do you need to see anything more? And I think the short answer is yes, right? There's 2 weeks to go in the season. I want to see him, play in Denver, play, one of the two when they have the back-to-back against San Antonio and Cleveland, play against Houston, play, just finish the season basically as he has gone the last 3 weeks, where the only games he misses are parts of back-to-backs. If he can do that, and again, he's got to go about as long to get to that as he has here in the last 3 weeks. He's got to go basically another 2. But if he can do that and remain productive, I think the Warriors at that point would have won the part of the trade that they can control, which is the non-Jonathan Kuminga portion of it. If Kuminga goes on to be a superstar, obviously it hasn't looked like that to this point, then we can revisit and have a different conversation then. And obviously it won't look great for that reason. And I think it's fair to bring up. But as far as the part of the trade that the Warriors can control, this thing the last 3 weeks, I think, has turned into are we ready to declare it? Because it sounds as if, and we'll get into it coming up here with what Porzingis had to say about Rick Celebrity, but it sounds as if the Warriors want to bring him back. He wants to come back, and the productivity and availability has been there to an extent that I don't think anybody would have thought possible 3 weeks ago when this thing looked pretty miserable.
Right. No, there was a point when the mysterious illness popped back up after playing in the Boston game. And if you told me that he would play like 5 games for the rest of the season after that, I would have believed you. I would have believed any scenario that you popped up, because it it was so confusing, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. And then suddenly it kind of disappeared, and he looks great. He's playing and he's productive. So I think you can add that to the list of good things that happened this week. Again, Guy's performance has been phenomenal. He dropped a career high against Dallas the other night, and Pod's production too. I mean, he's dropped what, 20 straight points or 20 points in 3 straight games.
Yeah, you look at the numbers, and the Warriors did win last night against Washington, 3rd one in a row. Again, we don't want to make too much of that at this stage. That their 3rd straight win, 131-126. But some of the notes from that, yeah, Podziemski, 3rd straight 20-point game, which is the most 20-point games consecutively that he's had in his career. The 3 straight. 12th time this season he's had 20 or more. But again, it's more about what he's done lately, because I do think he's done it more efficiently. And did you catch what he had to say about, and Guy Santos echoed this as well, those guys getting to the free throw line? Pods got to the line 8 times last night. Guy got to the free throw line 9 times. Again, a lot of that is Washington. They're fouling everybody. I mean, how many, again, free throws did Bam Adebayo shoot? Like, they cannot stop fouling. I think I just got fouled by Coulibaly. Right here in the home. Oh, Bub Carrington got me with a swipe. But those guys got to the line, and then post game they were asked about it, Kyle, and they said, "Hey, yeah, we learned that from Jimmy. Like we were talking to Jimmy about how to draw fouls and watching Jimmy's game because Jimmy is so patient and adept at being able to get players to foul him to where he can live at the line. And again, I think some of this is opponent specific and they're playing crappy teams. But I mean, how many nights have we looked up and it's like the Warriors can't get to the line? I mean, that's probably been the biggest thing they've been lacking in a sheer point production category in the time that Jimmy's been out is the ability to kind of stop the game, get to the free throw line, and live there to pick up some points in that vein. And you look at Guy and Porzingis, I found it was interesting that they both were like, yeah, I was talking to Jimmy, watching Jimmy, learning some tricks from Jimmy to be able to kind of add that to the game. And I think that's been a wrinkle that, I mean, Guy continues to show an offensive prowess that, I mean, I don't think anybody would have thought he had in the bag. And Porzingis, you know, we did the exercise on Dubs OT last night. Like the perception of, and look, I'm not saying this to absolve Porzingis. Like Porzingis got to be more consistent shooting. Period. Like but the numbers are better than the eye test. I think is probably the best way to put it when you look at, you know, him shooting around that 44-45% overall, which I think needs to be up higher. And then the 37% from three, you want to get that closer to 40, but you know, or at least to 39, you know, 38.5, 39, I think would even be a you know, welcome improvement. But it's not as if Pods is shooting 42% overall and shooting 33% from three, because I think at times the eye test doesn't match the actual numbers, which I think are better than you would think that they are for Brandon Porzingis. That being said, you know, I do think we've seen some subtle ways he's become a little bit more impactful as a scorer, even if he's not, you know, even if he's not hitting 30, as we know, has been kind of a thing here on social media of late.
I think the other frustrating thing is we've seen too many ineffective games after having a good game, right? And it's just like the seesaw effect of good game, bad game, good game, bad game. And I think the other thing with Pods is that the fans just want to see is just some consistency, and we've echoed that among the young players like him and Moody and especially Kuminga. But I think that's the big thing. And if he could become a more effective shooter, I mean that right there will help. But yeah, we'll see where he goes, and the contract negotiations. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no question. And again, I think with every game like last night, with every game like a lot of the games that he's had lately, 22, 10, and 7 for Brandon Porzingis. And look, it was the three-headed monster last night. It was Porzingis with 28, 8 and 3. It was Guy with 27, 4 and 4, and then it was Pods with 22, 10, and 7. And for every game that Pods has like that, I mean, what do you hear? You hear the cash register signs. I feel like, Kyle, you hear the ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching as it relates to the prospect of a possible extension, which is coming up among all of the other conversations that the Warriors have to have here in the offseason. It's you know, what do you do with Jimmy? What do you do with Draymond? Podziemski's going to want an extension. You know, does Horford come back? Can you keep Porzingis? Melton, you obviously want to be able to have come back. And, you know, even some of the lower end guys on the roster, I can't necessarily think. And look, I'm not saying the Warriors are afforded the luxury of just bringing everybody back, by the way. But yeah, I think as you look at the veterans specifically, it's somewhat maddening because, you know, obviously this team I mean, this team isn't good as they're currently constituted, but they do like Guy. Like you'd like to see Guy with the real team now that he's raised his game. You'd like to see, how does Porzingis fit back in if you have a real team with a couple of stars around him? And it's just the Warriors are not going to have that unless they have the ability to do something bold in the offseason in an attempt to try to improve the roster. And of course, the Giannis conversations are going to come up. We've talked a lot in this space on this show about, and I saw our friend Tim Kawakami of the SF Standard, even in a tweet this morning, mention, and I'm not sure if he wrote a column about it. I hadn't checked, but Kawhi and LeBron, who we've talked about those are going to be the three names. It's going to be Giannis and obviously pipe dream. Shouldn't they? I know Bill Simmons was having a conversation that we may play an excerpt from about the legitimate concerns as far as Giannis and the leg injuries as he gets to this point now where he's 31, going to be 32 in December, as he will wind up finding his way somewhere else. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think, as you work your way down, from Giannis to Kawhi to LeBron, like those are going to be the names that are going to pop up, I think. And then how do you even go about looking to acquire, those guys with the money? And will LeBron leave the Lakers? I think the answer is yes. Does he really want to go back to Cleveland? Is it the retirement tour year for LeBron? Would he really do that with Steph? Does LeBron want to play maybe 2 more years to where he goes and plays with Steph, and then the last year is sort of TBD? Maybe he goes back to Cleveland then, for a final year. So a lot of different things, on the table there. But once you get past the older players in terms of the Warriors' ability to try to acquire, then it becomes having to get bold. And that's the part where I wonder, because of the Moody injury, because of the fact that Kuminga now is gone and isn't a tradable salary asset, because you want to keep Porzingis as opposed to sign and trade him because of the fit that he's growing into, are the Warriors blocked now from being able to do anything meaningful beyond those older names that we're talking about in an attempt to try and, re-improve the roster? I think that's the question and the conundrum, because as much as they like the older players and as much as we can go up and down the list and say, oh yeah, keep, and I should apologize to DeAnthony Melton because I'm throwing him in with the old guys and he's actually not. He's still 27. But he is a veteran beyond his years in terms of his play. It's a positive statement, not a negative one. But as much as you want to keep Melton and Horford and Porzingis, and I think you do, that can't be your foundation. Like that can't, the foundation of Steph and waiting for Jimmy, if that's going to be what they do, and it seems like that's going to be what they're going to do. Like there's still that one missing piece that would need to be added to make the whole thing stand up in the way that I think the Warriors would need it to stand up to be relevant and also withstand, because this is what we get into all the time. Our buddy Diggum in the chat will bring it up. How do you expect to get through the season when you've got to load manage every back-to-back and you've got to give all these guys a bunch of breaks, and Steph's going to miss time and Jimmy's not coming back till maybe February. And it just becomes this exhausting roster building, roster building project that Mike Dunleavy and the front office and everybody are going to have to go through. And oh, by the way, is Steve Kerr coming back? That's the other part of the equation. So, quick thought on that, Kyle, and we'll take our first time out.
I mean, yeah, this free agency this offseason, they're going to have a lot of decisions to make, who to bring back and what money. But with Moody's injury as well, they already had to fill a hole when Butler went down and look for a third option that can become a second option while Jimmy Butler is out. But now they have another hole with Moses Moody. So you tie all of that in. to this offseason, and I mean, they're going to have to get creative if they want a shot at being a playoff contender.
808 KNBR 415-808-5627. We got a couple of text messages to get to. We'll get to the YouTube chat coming up. We'll hear from Al Horford. We'll hear from Kristaps Porzingis. We'll hear from Steve Kerr with the latest on Stephen Curry, and we'll get into some of these other names that could be potential options for the Warriors as well. We are off. We are rolling. It is Just Dubs with JD, John Dickinson, Kyle Hart, Raf Corral, right here on the Sports Leader.
KNBR, the Sports Leader.
26 for Porzingis. Setting up D. Santos, corner three. Come on. How good is this? Porzingis, you got a ball screen, but in close.
This is KNBR, and this is Just Dubs with John Dickinson, streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, back with you here on this Saturday. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Guy Santos continuing to go off for the Warriors. Warriors somehow, some way, it is opponent specific. They have won 3 in a row to get to 36-38. They're a half game back of the 9 seed in the Western Conference play-in race. Portland's still ahead of them. Going to get tougher, though, I think, especially without Steph here, if the Warriors are going to have to continue to play even another week. So we were talking in the first segment, some optimism, Kyle. Can they get to 9? That means home game in the play-in, at least the first play-in game versus not. But Steph Curry still not coming back tomorrow, and we'll see about Wednesday, Thursday. But the schedule for the Warriors here, before we get into Guy and Kristaps Porzingis and all of that, at Denver, going to be tough without Steph. San Antonio comes to Chase Center. If you don't have Steph in that one, hell, even if you do have Steph in that one, although Draymond will be amped for that game against San Antonio, as he has been. Warriors, by the way, 2 of 3 to this point against the Spurs on the season series. Then it's Cleveland in the second of a back-to-back. Somehow Cleveland hasn't made their trip out to the Bay yet, as they will be the final Eastern Conference team to play at Chase Center this season. So if you got to play without Steph, and then Easter Sunday, a week from tomorrow, it's Houston. Before things ease up a little bit, you've got the Kings, 2 of the Final 4. You got the Lakers mixed in there, and then the Clippers at the end. But if you're telling me that the Warriors are not going to have Steph, let's say until the final week, maybe the 2 Sacramento games, the Laker game and the Clipper game, the next 4 for the Warriors are going to be incredibly difficult. They're going to be incredibly difficult with Steph if you were telling me he was coming back. So I wouldn't get too optimistic at the prospect of the Warriors moving out of the 10 seed and moving into the 9 seed, even though they're only a half game back. Also have to remember Portland does have the tiebreaker if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely looking like an 0-4 week here upcoming, but Steph with the latest update, he's going to miss Denver. And it seems like, what is San Antonio? Would that be on the table? And would you?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think San Antonio feels less on the table now than it did. I know I've said April 1st for a while. April 1st. That's April 1st, the Wednesday game against San Antonio. It was looking like things were starting to move faster. When the Warriors were on that road trip. He's on the trip. He's shooting around. He's going to do the whole weird 5-on-5 thing that we've talked about, where he was going to do a scrimmage in Atlanta before the team got on a flight to Dallas. That never made sense to me as a realistic thing that would happen. And then Steve Kerr had said he was going to do that, and then Rick Celebrity didn't clear him to do that, and it had people kind of wondering, was there some kind of a setback? It got pushed a couple of days. Did they even have anybody come into the gym on Tuesday after they got back from Dallas? I know they certainly didn't have a formal practice or anything like that. I mean, the teams don't do that coming off a 6-game trip in 9 nights. We're like, yeah, we're going to bring everybody in and have a practice on that. Like, no, it's enjoy being home because you haven't been home in a week and a half, and rest up because there's another game tomorrow and another game Friday. I know they got everybody together Thursday. It's funny when Steve said a week ago that Steph was going to do that, the next thing was going to be the 5-on-5. I really thought the best opportunity was going to be like was like 2 days ago, Thursday, for a time when they might be able to have some semblance of a practice. It never added up to me that it was going to be, that he was just going to, do that on a Sunday or on a Tuesday and then play on a Wednesday. So I feel like he's going to have to go through the 5-on-5 and they're going to see how he responds. But I feel like there needs to be a few days in between when he does that to monitor exactly how he responds. And so I don't feel like it's not going to be Steph scrimmages 5-on-5. Again, this is just my read on it. I'm not reporting this with any inside intel, but I just don't see Steph going through a 5-on-5, let's say on a Tuesday and then playing Wednesday. So now maybe it's Monday and Wednesday, maybe it's Tuesday. And what I could see is him going through it Tuesday and then them waiting until like Easter Sunday to maybe bring him back, where he gets another few days to like make extra sure that he's ready to go. Although I don't love bringing him back against Houston, as we talked about last night. Like if you're going to do that, you might as well bring him back against Sacramento. I like bringing him back against Sacramento. Let's give him a nice soft landing.
Just don't play him against Houston. I mean, a nice soft ramp up would be Tuesday, April 7th against the Kings. And he could play the Kings twice. That would be a nice little ramp up, I think.
Although one of those is a back-to-back. Is a back-to-back, so maybe not, because I think they'd want him to play against the Lakers in the home finale. I think Amazon Prime would want him to play against the Lakers. Bee's knees. I don't want to see Steph coming back for the prison ball Rockets. Yeah, that's it. It feels like I'm with you. It's funny though, on the calendar, it feels like that almost makes the most sense now, just based on the fact that they have the 2 days off after tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday, to where he could get some work. He could do the 5-on-5. He could do the 5-on-5 thing Monday or Tuesday. I feel like probably more Tuesday, but if he does that, I don't feel like you'd bring him back Wednesday or Thursday necessarily. But then you've got Friday and Saturday where you don't have a game until Sunday. So you've got a 2-day break, and then you play the 2 games, and then you have another 2-day break. It just seems like, again, if you factor out the opponent, that now feels like maybe the most logical date on the calendar. But all of that being said, Bees Knees in the YouTube chat don't want to see Steph coming back against the Prison Ball Rockets. I wholeheartedly would agree with that.
If there were 2 individual players that I don't want to see Steph go against after missing 2 months of basketball, it would be it would be both the Thompson brothers, and then it would also be Dylan Brooks.
Well, and if you remember, what was the last game Steph played?
Yeah, it was Detroit, right?
It was against Detroit.
Yeah.
It was against Detroit. And remember, he had the bucket on Asar Thompson. He had the and one. That was like his last play. That was like the play that he got hurt on, basically, where it was like, this is too much. Remember, he had that driving, like floating and one late in that game. And I just remember, I just vividly remember him limping kind of down the sideline there, or the baseline, after he had hit the bucket. And I texted Austin Scott and I said, this is just not tenable. Like, it's just like, he's just not going to be able to keep doing this. And I didn't think he's going to be out for 2 months, but the load that he was having to carry based on, not having Jimmy. And look, that was like in the first 10 days of not having Jimmy. And again, that was in that January. That was in one of the portions of the schedule, the three areas of the schedule where they cram games in, which is, that lead up to the All-Star break toward the back end of January and up until the All-Star break. And so the games were just coming left and right. But yeah, I don't want to see Steph come back against the Rockets. I'm not going to get on a tangent on that, but I don't think anybody wants to see Steph come back against the Rockets. No cap. JD, so I was right about Steph all along that he wasn't coming back weeks ago. I don't know. I think the jury's still out on that. I mean, if he doesn't come back at all, obviously you're right. I thought No Cap was said he wasn't coming back at all, or maybe at least till April. But this thing had been, again, I mean, we've talked about it a ton. Like it was, I think we knew at the All-Star break that it wasn't good. When he didn't come back out of the All-Star break, I think we knew it was going to be a minimum of this week or next week. Like that to me was, kind of obvious, but we'll see. Yeah. It obviously wasn't the 25th. And it didn't need to be the 25th, by the way, or the 27th. Like it was, to me, they were getting a little too over their skis. And I don't know. I don't want to accuse or suspect something. I don't want to go conspiracy theory. I don't, but there is a part of me that wonders if some of the messaging from the Warriors was an attempt to kind of make it appear as if Steph could come back against Washington and Brooklyn, for a ticket selling component. Like, hey, he might. I don't rule it out. Might see Steph. I hate to be so cynical, and it's probably unfair because I don't think it was overt. Like nobody said he was coming back, but I just feel like if you were paying attention, there were hints here within the last 10 days that he could have maybe come back against Brooklyn and Washington, when I don't think that was actually ever really true.
Yeah, and the whole messaging of it felt rushed, and the timeline, it was just like, all right, well now he's going to scrimmage. I was like, whoa, where did this come from? Like what? like he was just sitting on the bench not too long ago, and now he's going to play. The whole, like, it just felt off. But I will say, I think at the end of the season, if we look at it and Steph doesn't play at all, then I think it might be what Gene is kind of thinking here, where maybe they have had that conversation with Steph, and look, I think Steph wants to get back out there, but it could also be, look, man, we don't want to jeopardize next season in an attempt to make a run in the play-in and get into the playoffs.
Well, and I mean, for Gene, I wonder why 2 months. I mean, it's 2 months because he came back out of the All-Star break and he was sore. He still, he came back 2 weeks later or 2.5 weeks after the injury, and the belief was that he was going to be good to go. And he still was having the same pain that he was having on the 30th and in the lead up. Because remember, he played with it for a while. Remember, this actually started before the 30th. This started like in the middle. It started right after Jimmy got hurt, basically. And remember, he played in games with it, and it was kind of bothering him, but he was playing through it. And then it got to the point where it was like he couldn't play through it anymore. Remember, and he got the MRI and what's going on, and he had to get the second MRI. Like, I don't think there's any funny business going on here. I think it is age and attrition. I don't think it was a quiet punt, but I do think it was when it was thought that he was going to come back right out of the All-Star break, and then he came back from the All-Star game and he was still sore. That's when it turned into, all right, we're giving him a month. Like that's when it turned to, I think, Rick Celebrini saying the only thing that's going to clear this up is extended rest. And so that's why basically for the next month, that's what it was. And until he was starting to get back on the court. And I think he got back on the court around the 11th. I think is so that was basically a month ish, 3 weeks after it was announced that, he wasn't going to be able to come back, obviously coming out of the break. So I don't think there's any kind of funny business going on or anything like that as it relates to him needing the time that's led up to the last couple of weeks, or even the last week. I just think it's once you get to now and your plight in terms of where you're going to be seeding, basically, and you're in the play-in and you can't fall out. I mean, hell, the Warriors already clinched. Don't tell Steve Kerr that. Don't congratulate Steve Kerr on that. No. What a freaking clown show that was. What an embarrassment that was.
Yeah, that was weird.
All right. It wasn't weird. It was on brand. It wasn't weird. It was a clown show is what it was. It was disgusting behavior. It was embarrassing behavior. All right. But on brand. Again, nobody should question it. Just all you got to do in life, Kyle, is consider the source. That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Consider the source. All right. Let's hear this clip from Steve Kerr, Raph, about Steph. He updated this. This was from Steve pregame last night on just where things kind of stand with Steph and what needs to be done for the decision on when he's going to return. And this question was asked in the context of, hey, there's 9 games left. Now there's 8. Are there enough games to give him the runway that he needs?
It hasn't changed, but it's actually a conversation now. And so I think the way I would phrase it is, we're not bringing him back like for the play-in game. And that's just, he needs to play some games and we need to give him a runway if this is going to work, and we are running out of games. So that's fair to say, but he's still working, and Rick is working with him with the mindset that he will be back.
Yeah, and there you go. And Steph wants to come back. And so, yeah, it's just a matter of, is it 2 games? Is it 4 games? Is it 5 games? Like what does it need to be in terms of, going through the 5-on-5 and the ability to, get enough of the, push it hard enough basically to where you can see how does he come out of it, and does he come out of it pain-free? And I think there are so few games left now that while there hasn't been a setback, Kyle, I think we're at the point where if there is any kind of setback, and this is basically it from We the Champs Bay. Bottom line, if Steph is healthy, he plays. If not, he doesn't. But he's going to have to come out of it. And if he comes out of it and he's sore now because there are so few games left, it's done. And I know now, do the Warriors wait until the final week of the season to announce that? Possibly. But it really, if he comes out of it healthy, then he'll be back out there. I guess the question is, how many games does he need? And I think, now having him play 10, if he would have come back Wednesday, that it doesn't matter because we're beyond it, but there are also already clinched in terms of the play-in. Like, does he need to come back and play the final 7? He wouldn't play 7 anyway because they got a couple of back-to-backs. So it would be 5. Like, even if he comes back April 1st, the maximum amount of games he would play would be 5, right, of the final 7. So if that's the case, do you just bring him back? Like, do you just bring him back against Sacramento on the 7th, play him against the Lakers, skip the second Sacramento game because it's a back-to-back, and then play him against the Clippers at the end? And it's basically like that's a 3-game warm-up, essentially, with 2 days off, because the play-in game, my understanding, would be Wednesday the 15th, the 9-10 game, barring some kind of schedule change. Wednesday the 15th would be when that – so you would get 2 – even if he plays on the Sunday, he'd get 2 days off before they would play the actual play-in game, likely against Portland, either at Chase or up in Portland.
Yeah, I think he needs to play at least 3
and skip
games,
the Rockets game. And skip the Rockets.
Yeah, that is a big skip. I know we were kind of making light of the fact that it was an Easter Sunday and it would be fitting for him to to come back on Easter Sunday, but I think he needs to play 3. Definitely. At home versus the Kings, that just feels like yeah, go ahead and get your legs a little warm in that game. And if he does come back earlier, great. But then if he doesn't come back until April 7th, which is that game against the Kings, well, then you kind of pick out 3 from there. And I think the 3 that you would pick would be the April 7th against the Kings, April 9th against the Lakers, sit on the back end of that back-to-back at Sacramento, and then play the last game of the season against the Clippers.
It feels like that's the plan. It feels like that's the plan at this point. And then again, we're to the point now, as Steve said, any kind of setback. And look, especially given what happened with Moody, and the unlikelihood, even with Steph, that, I mean, you're still going to have to win 2 games. So it's going to be, it's going to be tough to win 2 games, even against Portland and against Phoenix or the Clippers, no matter how you order it. It's going to be tough to win those games. And those games are going to be taxing. So I think any kind of setback, obviously, it's going to change the calculus. You got one more you want to throw up on the screen there before we get to the break? JD is taking no prisoners since somebody by the name of, I'm not even, Look, and that, by the way, I was not the person in the chat from last night was not the person that, like, that was not, I know that wasn't the actual imbecile. That was just somebody that had a different name. But yeah, we move on.
But did provide some actual intelligent comments and takes and
that
chat. So we appreciated that.
I think that dude. Yeah, I think the person that San Jose is speaking of in the YouTube chat was I think it may have been a spoof of the actual person, or it may not have been. Either way, we move forward here into hour number 2 of Just Dubs on this Saturday. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Let's get to some chats coming back. We'll also hear from Al Horford. I want to ask the chat today, as we did last night. Did Al tell everybody he's coming back? Did he tell Fitz and Glenn he's coming back for sure? We need to decipher that as we roll on into hour number 2. Just Dubs, JD, right here, the sports leader.
JD on a Saturday just feels right.
Rick is amazing. Rick's the GOAT, man. Really. So I'm very happy. I'm working with these guys, and I'm sure they will keep me on the same path.
Live from downtown.
Hurry, way downtown. Bang!
This is Just Dubs with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader, streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
All right, welcome back. Hour number 2. That's right, 2-hour edition here. Just Dubs, JD, Kyle Haar, Raf Corral, Kristaps Porzingis, and you at 808 KNBR as we get you closer to Giants baseball. Giants and the Yankees, 4:15 first pitch. Marty Lurie, a special Saturday appearance. Marty Lurie with no game on Sunday is going to be on coming up at noon. And
Great job, brother.
It is an absolute pleasure to hand it off to Marty to talk some Giants baseball and carry Crowley as well throughout the afternoon. And then the Giants and the Yankees playing the finale of the 3-game set over at Oracle Park. 808 KNBR Golden State Lumber Showroom text line. 408, by the way, with a little Giants twist here, Kyle, on the our first text of the day earlier. This was from like an hour ago. 408 wrote, I bet Moody is a better hitter than the current Giants roster. Woof, man. Come on.
I mean,
160 to go. I'm gonna say it before Marty does. 160 to go. There's a lot of time left.
Well, the Warriors have White Ohtani on their team too, and I will say, I saw our guy Joseph Dickinson put this on Twitter that Pods in his post game press conference said that he probably shouldn't have said some things that he said, and I think that might be one of them.
Hey, we all get a little unfiltered sometimes.
It does make for some great laughs, though.
We all get a little unfiltered sometimes, and I was there the night that Pods. I was there the night that Pods hit one onto the arcade. I think it was in batting practice. Remember, Pods took batting practice a couple of years ago and hit one out. And it was like, and then he's like, yeah. I think at that point he said he felt he really could be a major leaguer. Like he really, I think he did say something to that effect. Like he really thought he could play, like, cause he obviously played in high school and was a pretty good player. And I think he really enjoys baseball, but I think he said something to the effect that I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it feels like something Potts would say. Like,
well,
I can play in the
Winston,
majors. I'm 19 and an NBA player, but I could play in the major leagues.
Jameis Winston and shout out our guy Austin Scott who got this great clip, said that he would get 30 hits and 100 at bats against Logan Webb for a 300 batting average. I was like,
you know what? And you know what? They'd all be in the first 2 innings of the game.
Mic drop.
He'd go 30 for 30 in the first couple innings, and he'd go 0 for 70 after he got the hits. Because sometimes it'd be like that.
Sometimes.
808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Just Dubs here. Let's get, so Porzingis is coming back, by the way. That is the statement that we play the clip coming back. Like I read that as a statement that Porzingis is 100% coming back. The question only now is at what price? Price is going up. I mean, it's a good thing he doesn't get to play the Wizards anymore because I mean, he looks like the GOAT against the Wizards, although I think that's preserved maybe for the end of time and to Bam Adebayo with the 83-point performance. But is it fair or foul to say you hear that clip from Porzingis and he is 100% coming back to the Dubs?
Fair. Well, I think the thing is that, you know, he's missed so much and look, it's a small sample size. He hasn't played a full season and we'll have to see how this carries over if he stays with the Warriors next season. But I mean, Rick Celebrini does kind of have that Midas touch. and it feels like he's like it feels like he kind of cured Porzingis. That's what it feels like.
I mean, is there any more? Is there any more significant person in the Bay Area sports than Rick Celebrini? I mean, he's responsible for all the Warriors, keeping them healthy and keeping them on, and then he's responsible for Macklin. So it's like, I mean, is there anything? I mean, he's up there in the pecking order of most important Bay Area figures, I think, to be sure.
Yeah, they need to restructure that contract. You could add that to another thing that they need to do in the offseason. Well, whatever he's getting paid, it's not enough.
Right. Whatever the $20 million you're not going to give Porzingis, put that in Rick's bank account.
Yeah, that'll be a bonus.
Yeah, no question. All right, couple other texts to get to. Golden State Lumber and Sugar text line as well here as we continue into hour number 2 as I kind of scan through here. Let's see. Would you say that the Warriors are 1 or 2 steps away from a dumpster fire at the same time, or one or two steps away from contending? That's a great call. 719. By the way, know your area codes. Know your United States area codes, Kyle. 719.
Oof. Is that like
Colorado?
Yeah. No
719. We will not. We'll not get off on a tangent about that. But yeah, I think when you look at that is a great point. They are 1 or 2 steps away from disaster. Are you kidding? I mean, they are actually set up to be that team that they're a move away in the offseason, even if it's not, let's say, a Giannis, LeBron, Kawhi move. They're a move away in the offseason if everything clicks with the remaining young players. They keep all the other veteran guys. Like, they could absolutely be that team that thinks they're pretty good if everything goes right, and then Steph has to miss the first 2 months or something, with runner's knee comes back and you got to shut him down for a month and then all of a sudden you're 10 under, when he or worse when he comes and all of a sudden it's Jimmy's coming back, Steph's coming back, but you're 10 under and you're fighting to get to the 10 seed for the final 2 months of the 2 months of the year, and you may not get there because or Porzingis, the mystery illness comes back, or Melton ends up having something, pop up now that you've paid Melton. So it is, regardless of what the Warriors do, to keep it real, it will be incredibly fragile for them in 2026 and 2027. I think no doubt. No doubt. All right, let's get to the chats. We've been a little reluctant here in the first hour. We've kind of had the good conversation going here, but let's get to the YouTube chat. Best YouTube chat in sports. Sad Draymond, a new addition to the chat here of late. We appreciate you. One of the better new additions to the YouTube chat. Do you think Steph is not injured? Yes, and it's awesome. Do you think Sad Draymond after Michigan State got beat last night in the Sweet 16? Do you think Steph is not injured, just resting, or has another issue? No, I do think he's been in. He was legitimately injured, 100% for sure. As we've discussed, I think the belief was that it was going to be like a 2-3 week thing, and then when he came back from the All-Star break, it was not going to be a 2-3 week thing, and so he's, at that point, it became something that was going to require a lot. Like, rest is how you heal that injury specifically is rest. I mean, that's been something that's been documented. And then you have to not come back so soon that the runner's knee or the soreness comes back, because if the soreness comes back, you almost have to start over, which is why at this point, that's why at this point, I think if there is any semblance of some kind of a setback, it's probably just going to be, all right, make the announcement. Steph's done for the rest of the season. We'll see in October. I don't think there's been a setback. or another issue. And I also, it doesn't sound like, and I think the other factor too, if there was any way that Steph could have this injury turn into something more serious by playing, I think he would have already been shut down. Like I think the season would already be over if this injury had the potential to lead to something more catastrophic. And I that's where I think you do, if you're the Warriors, trust Rick Celebrini to make the right call on that. If that was the case, I think then forget it. He would not be coming back at all. So good one to get us rolling here this segment. Florida Dubs fan JD, do you buy the theory that Kerr having these guys play out of their natural position and role players playing at 120% caused all these injuries? Caused what injuries? Like the Jimmy injury, the Steph injury, the Moody. I mean, Moody hadn't played in weeks at the point. No. Short answer, no. Is that a real theory? Like, is that actually something that's been flying around that Kerr's gotten these guys injured? I've heard it all now. Was that from the? That wasn't from the congratulations on the play-in crew, was it?
No. I will say though that once Jimmy went down, I think it was apparent that Steph really had to get on his tail and was running all around the court.
Yes.
And I like that. That's the one that I will buy. Everything else, I think those were just freak accidents.
Yeah, no, I the Jimmy thing was brutal. I mean, it was the, the bad entry pass. But again, that's basketball. That's sports. The Moody thing, I mean, Moody didn't do what did Moody do? I mean, it's a non-contact injury for somebody that's 23 years old. I mean, that is, and I think the thing that you have to hope with Moody, by the way, that's been a sneaky, gruesome, like bad injury for guys to come back from. I had done a little, like Victor Oladipo had that. Kalena, obviously, who knew immediately on the NBC Sports Bay Area telecast, but at an older age, both of those guys at an older age. But Oladipo was never the same. He was done, and obviously Kalena as well. From that injury. But I think that's the difference between somebody at 23 and somebody even late 20s to early 30s. In terms of the ability to bounce back from that. But no, I don't buy into any kind of theory that Steve Kerr, having these guys play out of position or role play. Like your guys have to play. You can't have it where you want guys to get more of an opportunity and try to develop them and then say, he's playing them too much. He's going to get them hurt. But so no, I don't think anybody has a choice in the matter as it relates to that. Appreciate the comment though. Let's keep it going. Bee's knees. If it was serious, he would have never attended All-Star Weekend. Yeah, I mean, and he looked like he was moving fine at All-Star Weekend from a just like moving around as a guy standpoint. But obviously wasn't participating in any of the events as well. But yeah, I just think it was, again, I go back to, and we'll get to the phones here in just a second, but I go back to the night that we went into the All-Star break and the Warriors got beat by San Antonio. And the thought really was that he was working his way back. He was going to come back, go through practice when the Warriors had their first practice back after the All-Star break, which I think was the day before the Boston game, which was the first game out on that Thursday. He was going to go through that practice, get cleared and play. And then he came back and he was sore. And that's where the shutdown really started. But I think there was a lack of improvement or maybe a worsening of the soreness or a return of the soreness that came back somewhere in that window. It was in the January 30th to February 18th window when this thing went closer to now this is going to have to be a more extended absence. I don't think it's been off track since they shut him down coming out of the All-Star break for the last, let's say, 5-6 weeks. One more, and then we'll do the phones here as we roll through the Saturday morning on Just Dubs. Rip Cougar, will Post be back or be traded? I think Quentin Post comes back on a small deal, and we got to play the Al Horford clip coming up as well, and let the people decide if Al declared himself in for 2026-27. But Post is a free agent, and he's making $1.9 million this year. I could see Quentin Post come back on a deal, maybe a 2-year deal, 1-year deal with an option. I could see Quentin Post get signed because again, if you do believe Horford's coming back, if you do believe Porzingis is coming back, again, neither one of those two should be playing in back-to-backs. And my plan for months has been, if you bring both those guys back, you split them up. You play one in the first end, you play one in the second end of the back-to-back, and then Quentin Post gets time as the third big. Basically, he would get his time if there's an injury. He would get his time if Horford plays at night and Porzingis doesn't. It would be Horford and Post. If Porzingis plays and Horford doesn't, it would be Porzingis and Post. Then it'd be Horford and Post. Like you'd have two of the three basically available at all times. But Post, as the younger player, would always be available. So I think he comes back and can't be traded because he's a free agent. And you're not going to sign and trade with Post because he's going to make such a nominal amount of money in the grand scheme of things. But I think they would like to have him back. But again, he's more of an 11 to 15 player on your roster at this point than somebody that's necessarily going to be in the top 10. All right, let's get Rob in Lafayette, 808 KMBR, jumping in on the phone lines here as we are in the 11 o'clock hour on Just Dubs. What's going on, Rob? How are you?
Hey, love the show. Thanks. Hey, how good could the team be if we had everybody right now? Moody, Seth, Jimmy. How incredible do you think they could be going into the playoffs?
I think they were already, even before the Porzingis trade. And again, it was a pretty small sample, but I go back to the 12-4 in the 16 games before Jimmy got hurt, and they were starting to get it rolling. It was a pretty uneven first 2 months, and they were kind of going through the motions and the injuries and the slog of the season, but they really had it click in to the point where I think they were trending to be in that mix for a top 6 spot if they could continue to play at that level. It looked like it did at the end of last year when they went 23-8, but they were starting it basically 2.5 months earlier, that run. And if you tell me, Rob, that you would have had that, and then you would have added Porzingis, and even if it had taken some time to get Porzingis right and ready to come in and be impactful, I think this team, I'm not going to say title contender, but I do think they would have been top 6, and in that mix currently where you look at the standings, and I need to update them here because I haven't updated them on this computer in this studio. But I think they'd be in the mix with basically Minnesota, Houston, Denver, Minnesota, and the Rockets. Like I think they'd be within a game or two of Denver, Minnesota, and the Rockets as far as just kind of battling for the top 6 and a team that would be, could win a round and maybe even win a couple of rounds. Now, probably still too old to win a title. We saw them break down last year, but I think it would have been an outcome that would have led most to say, all right, now go try and make one more move. And maybe you can have that last dance run, which is obviously going to be incredibly difficult now considering the circumstances.
So you still think we need one more?
I think to win a title, I think they still would have been one more move away this offseason. I think they would have come up short and needed one. And again, not a star necessarily, but another it's kind of like the player they need to go get anyway, that younger player that can help get you through the regular season. Because that's the flip side to my argument, Rob, is, you know what? They were going to be too old to continue to sustain the pace that they had started. And I guess in some ways you could say, well, they were, because Steph got hurt. And I know the Jimmy thing was more of a fluke move, to try to catch that entry pass to where his knee gives out. But I think, you could make the case, hey, they were too old to sustain it, and they proved that they were too old to sustain it, just in an extreme fashion. So, but yeah, I think still one more player away, even if they had gotten Porzingis. But I think they could have been a second round to conference finals type team had it all worked out and gone right, and they added Porzingis.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Rob. 808 KNBR. Let's go ahead and take a timeout. We're a little bit overdue. 415-808-5627. More in the YouTube chat. We'll play the Al Horford clip coming back as well, as it is just Dubs, JD, Kyle Haar, Raf Corral, right here on the Sports Leader.
KNBR, the Sports Leader.
everybody. It is March.
Definitely after the season, I always tell people, like, I never try to make decisions in season. So I think once the season ends, I'll sit there with my wife and talk about it. But I really enjoy, what we have going here. And it's been unfortunate, obviously, all the injuries and everything that we've had to endure as a team. But it's something that, that I have to, really think about. But I enjoy playing with this group.
Dub Nation, this is the real and inside story on Warriors basketball. Just Dubs with John Dickinson now continues. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
Al Horford with a smattering of Murph. Hey, Murph. Let's welcome back here. Just Dubs as we roll through. Man, the show's flying by. 2 hours. Dubs in a season of misery. And we're just cruising along here with Raf Corral. We got Kyle Haar. We got the best YouTube chat in sports. We got callers. We got texters. Al Horford coming back. Did Al Horford declare himself back? Now, Raf, we talked about this last night, and we if you want to play the clip again, we can play the clip again. But I need to get an unbiased third-party opinion here because this did come up last night on Just Dubs. Or on Dubs OT, rather, Al on the telecast. And it was framed to me by somebody that Al basically announced he's coming back to the Warriors next year when he was on with Fitz and Kalena. So let's play it again. Let's play it again. And Raph, we're going to get your take on this, and then we'll reiterate what Kyle and I said last night. But does this to you sound like Al Horford essentially announcing his return on the PO for next year, player option for 2026-27? Let's roll it.
Definitely after the season, I always tell people, like, I never try to make decisions in season. So I think once the season ends, I'll sit there with my wife and talk about it. But I really enjoy, what we have going here. And it's been unfortunate, obviously, all the injuries and everything that we've had to endure as a team. But it's something that, that I have to, really think about. But I enjoy playing with this group.
So
all right.
I think he really said it at the end. He likes playing here, but obviously I think, he probably, being older, he has his family, he has his wife he can't make the decision himself. So I think he's coming back. That's just
okay.
Me.
All right. I think he's coming back. All right. He's about to be a man. He's 40. He's about to be, he's about to be coming up here in June. But no, it's interesting. And maybe I've skewed too much. I sort of assumed, again, Al Horford came to the Warriors because he thought they could contend for titles, right? He believed, Melton came back because I think in part he really loved the obviously the team and playing with Steph and the training staff and all of that first class. And Horford's played with some first class organizations, the Celtics, the Thunder. Remember when the Thunder took his contract for draft picks after he ended up with Philly and then ended up going back to Boston to help them win the title. When the Thunder were kind of in their rebuild mode, they just took Horford and basically said, "Hey man, you don't even have to show up, or you can show up and work out, but we're just not going to play you, but we'll keep you around." So he's played with some first class organizations, and I think I was maybe of the opinion that he was going to be inclined to come back. We also had Sam Amick on of The Athletic a couple of weeks ago. He was on when I was filling in for Papa with Greg Silver, and he kind of made it seem like he was really debating whether he was going to come back and play last year as opposed to maybe retiring. It wasn't so much, playing for another team. I think the Celtics did want him back. It was basically the Warriors were making him a great offer, and it was, do I take the Warriors offer or retire? I know the Lakers were also mentioned in that as well. They ended up getting 8. And so I don't know. I think, if he really came that close, I think a lot of it is does Al want to go through another grind of a year, Kyle, for a team that that he doesn't believe can win a title. To me, that's the thing. Like, if there's a pathway to get to where you're winning a round or two in the playoffs and feel like you are playing that meaningful basketball, then maybe he's more apt to want to come back. If not, then I think it, maybe he looks to retire and spend time with the fam. But he's more than capable at this point. He is still playing at a level where you'd love to have him back, especially in that 50 to 55 game role.
Oh, no doubt. I think the key for Al is what he wants out of potentially his last year of playing basketball. I mean, does he want to join a team that's more of a championship contender? But I think if he does that, I think he might take less to do that, or might have to take less. Where I think maybe the best offer on the table is actually taking that player option and what I think it's 5.5, 6 mil for next
about
season.
6.
Yeah, so I think it's what does he want, and maybe the wife tells him, hey, look, I let's just hang it up. Let's hang it up and we could spend some time together. But I think I do think, he's at the point of his career where, he wants to play meaningful basketball and chase another ring. And if he doesn't think the Warriors are the team to do so, even if that's his best offer, maybe he doesn't take it.
Yeah, I think that you made a great point about the difference between going somewhere else that might want him that, could be closer to a title than the Warriors are, but at the expense of, maybe it being half as much money. And look, he's made a lot of money. Like, he doesn't need the money, but he also, when you don't need the money, that, sometimes that means you're only gonna do something if you're gonna get paid at a certain level to do it, right? That's the one thing you find as you get older, it just in life, is like, as you get older and you get more established, you start to set boundaries. Like, as a younger guy, you're obviously, because you want to make it, you're probably going to do more for less, right? In a lot of situations. But once you get to a point where you make that, there's a standard, it's like, well, I'm only going to play for 6, right? If you're Al, like, I'll use that as an example. It's like, well, I'm not going to play anywhere for 3, but I'll play for 6. And if the Warriors are the only team that would be inclined, I mean, it's already on the table. It's his option, to pay him 6, and the Warriors would love that. Then that kind of becomes the only option, as opposed to maybe just, not making anything, but also having, all the free time you want, as it relates to going into retirement. Dilated entertainment. Durant never has to talk. I mean, that's mean spirited. Come on, man. That's Durant never has to talk with his wife before a contract. I mean, so what? Come on, that's mean. Get that one off the screen. I don't like that. Why am I always sticking up for KD? Why am I always sticking up for KD? I feel like I constantly get put in a position where I'm having to stick up for KD. Let's get a couple of more chats here, and then we'll take another timeout. 808 KMBR 415-808-5627. San Jose Jazz fan 8. The recent performance of Guy has been remarkable on Dubs OT with JD last night. One commenter said Guy effectively ends any questions of Kerr's ability to develop players. Do you think so? Brandon Podziemski's better than he was when he started. Guy Santos is an incredible developmental story, as Steve Kerr pointed out, going back about a month ago. Steve said that in what I thought was kind of a sneaky shot at the haters. I'm not going to lie, or the naysayers. But can we be real about it? Podziemski's developed, Moody developed, and Guy has developed. I mean, the fact that these guys are not stars, that doesn't matter. Like, none of these guys were going to be stars ever. in all likelihood at the highest point of their ceiling. So I think sometimes people grade on the curve of, well, if a guy doesn't become a star, it's like Moses Moody was never expected to be a star. Brandon Podziemski was the 19th pick in the draft. He had an extremely low ceiling, but high floor. And I think the Warriors have gotten, to be perfectly honest, more than the floor out of Podziemski already at this point when you look at the numbers. And not only the numbers, but how impactful he's been toward winning when they've had the full team, when they've actually had a 1 and a 2 in Steph and Jimmy. Podziemski's been an incredibly impactful player toward winning when you take a little bit of the pressure off. So I actually think, Guy may be the greatest example because nobody really thought Guy was any good. And so he's gone from fringe G leaguer, 15th man type to, bona fide rotation player. And now on a team that's so dramatically injured, he's actually been a capable starter. Now, again, capable starter on one of the worst rosters in the NBA. Let's keep it 100 on that, which is what the Warriors currently have with the guys that they're putting out there. But he went from a guy that was like a fringe G leaguer 15th man to a guy who can start on a bad team and be a top 8 player on a good team. Which we've seen. So Guy may be the greatest example, but let's not get it twisted, Kyle. And I know people are not going to like this because it doesn't change the Warriors' ceiling really at all unless they get the top end of the roster correct. But Podziemski, Moody, and Guy have all, in their own way, been positive developmental stories for Steve Kerr. Kuminga was not. Wiseman was just a bust. And so I think you almost throw him out as it relates to Kerr because nobody's been able to get anything out of him. And, the chickens are coming home to roost on Kuminga a little bit with Atlanta as he's had to play more. I mean, he's looked worse and worse, in the times that he's been out there with Atlanta. He's basically been, and this is the truth on Kuminga, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but Kuminga's been the same guy that he was with the Warriors. Flashes, individual good games, a lot of bad, and a lot of not being available. He's been the same guy. So it's not as if Quinn Snyder's done anything differently. If anything, they've kind of let him do what he wants a little more as time has gone on, and he sucked since he's tried to play the game that he wants to play, as opposed to the first handful of games where he was playing the game that the Hawks wanted him to play, which was the game that the Warriors wanted him to play when he was his most successful at Golden State. So I don't know. Guy maybe puts it over the top. But it was a false narrative that Steve Kerr cannot develop young players. He's got 3 young players he's developed at a really high level. And I'll even give you another one, that he isn't with the Warriors anymore, but Kevon Looney. Kevon Looney's a successful developmental story. And it took Kevon injuries in a few years to become a productive player. But he became a productive player on a championship team. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Guy might be the final box, Kyle, but I think Steve's looking a lot better than people think in that department.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I think the two that hurt though, given where they were drafted, of course, are Wiseman and Kuminga. But that's not necessarily all on Kerr. I mean, you said it. Wiseman was a bust. They just happened to draft
the wrong
player. Pick. Right. They just
and I think Kuminga, well, Kuminga's not a bust. They drafted the wrong player there too.
Well, yeah, right. Exactly. And I mean, if you do go back and check the tape, Kerr wanted someone else. he wanted a little bit of Franz.
He wanted Franz Wagner, and you know what? I'm going to bet that Franz Wagner would have developed with Steve Kerr as his head coach in ways that Jonathan Kuminga didn't develop with Steve Kerr as his head coach. All right, let's take a timeout. 808 Canberra. We'll come back. We'll get a couple of great texts that I want to get to. We'll close it out in the chat. What a great 2 hours here. We'll hand it off to Marty Lurie. We'll get some Giants baseball, Giants and the Yankees. I'm taking the over. Taking the over on 1 hit for the Giants today, and I'm taking the over on
0.5
0 runs. I'm taking the over on 0.5 runs. I'm taking the over on 1.5 hits. for the Giants today. Those are your locks. Those are your locks of the day for JD here. Those are your baseball locks of the day as we give way to Marty coming up at noon, and Kerry Crowley and Giants baseball again in that 4 o'clock hour, 4:15 first pitch over at Oracle Park. All right, we'll wrap things up next right here. Just Dubs on the Sports Leader.
KNBR, the Sports Leader. Just Dubs with John Dickinson keeps rolling. Streaming live on YouTube at KNBR 1045.
All right, final segment. John Dickinson, Kyle Haar, Raf Corral, Giants baseball at the top of the noon hour. We'll get everything going with Marty Lurie. Giants coming up against the Yankees, 4:15. Again, remember my lock of the day, Giants over on a half a run. Giants over on 1.5 hits. And you don't have to call a number. You don't have to pay any fees. You don't it's JD's, locks. They're your free lock of the day right there. I don't know what you're probably not going to win much money on that, Kyle, although maybe you do, considering the fact that the Giants have been so impotent at the plate here to begin the season. But I think it changes a little bit today.
Or you go for the dark horse, and maybe it's not much of a dark horse. You go on the Yankees no hitter.
I'm not doing it. You can take that action, Kyle. You can take that action, but I'm not going to take that action. We're going to wrap things up here in the chat. We got about another 8 minutes or so before we give it over to Marty and some Giants baseball here on the Sports Leader. Really appreciate everybody. Really appreciate everybody here on Just Dubs and on Dubs OT last night as well. As it has been truly for the sickos, Kyle, as we say every night here of late, with Steph still not back, and look, the team trying to fight, but obviously knowing in a lot of ways what time it is as far as not having Steph and not having Jimmy, and just how competitive that they could have the potential to be. 415. Here, I wanted to get to this text. The Warriors spent a decade drafting like they were playing darts blindfolded and somehow still hit a dynasty. Now the bill's on the table. You can only whiff on so many lottery tickets before the universe says, all right, let's reconcile the accounts. Steph covered sins. Draymond yelled over them. Kerr schemed around them. But now it's just the spreadsheet. Time to pay the piper. Yeah, and he wants interest, luxury tax, and a backup center who can actually rebound. That might be the best text I've ever seen.
That's a really good text. Yeah. Oh my
that
God.
might be the best text I've ever seen in the history of working here at the Sports Leader or anywhere else from the 415. And yeah, I mean, we talked about the chickens coming home to roost, and the debt on the credit card payments or lottery tickets in the draft is definitely come due. And to spend a minute or two on this, we've talked about, the Warriors, the small likelihood, the like 2% chance they move up into the top four in the lottery. But the more likely scenario is that they wind up with the 11th or the 12th pick, depending upon currently 11, because they're 10. If they're the 10 seed and they don't make the playoffs, they end up with the 11th slot. Basically, the worst they would do would be the 11th pick in the lottery. And if they end up 9th in the standings, they would end up with the 12th slot. And obviously, I mean, a team from behind them could move up and push them down and all of that. But it most likely they are at this point going to wind up 11 or 12. As much as we daydream about 4 and could they get 1, and it happened with Dallas, and Atlanta was right there a couple years ago. As much as all of those things can happen, the most likely scenario is that the Warriors wind up 11 or wind up 12. And that pick is going to have to be a guy. And that's going to be able to come in and play immediately and help this team. And, and if it can't be, then I think they're going to have to look to move that pick. And so it can't be a project. It can't be somebody that's just kind of stashed on the roster that's not going to play when you have so many needs. And so I think as we start to get closer to, and I know we're not talking too much on specific names, although I think, obviously with the tournament, a lot of these college players are at the forefront, but I think they wind up in a fascinating position if they wind up 11 or 12, and not fascinating in a way that I think makes any Warrior fan feel real comfortable about it, because there isn't necessarily going to be, I think, a no-brainer pick at 11 or 12, but you're still going to be, I think, smitten with the notion, or at least maybe some within the organization, Joe Lacob, smitten with the notion of having one more crack at a pick that could fall almost exactly in between the Jonathan Kuminga pick at 7 and the Moses Moody pick at 14. right? Like what's right between those two, right? 11, right? 10, 11 is right the number right in between, basically 11. So, would there be, what kind of player you can get in a deep draft? Is that guy a project? I don't think he can be. Could that guy be at 11? I guess the question I'd have for you, and we'll get into this in the coming weeks, Kyle, is can the player at 11 be that guy that they're looking for? That's the third best player, but also can function as the second best player while Jimmy's out. I just don't think that's feasible unless they wind up just with a massive, almost miraculous kind of home run.
Yeah,
Lucky
no, right. And there still could wind up being a really good player and maybe an impactful player at that pick, but at the same time, you could probably get an even better player if you are going all in on next season with that in terms of trading that pick instead of picking a player. And here I'm just going to throw out a name real quick. Yaxel Lindeborg from Michigan.
Yeah,
at 11.
and you know what? Kyle, you read my mind because Yaxel was the guy that I thought that was the guy that was kind of making me think of it. And I don't think he's going to be around at 11. I think he's too good. Like, I think he's having too good of a tournament.
Right. Yeah,
you saw it again last night. Like, I just think his draft stock is raising to the point where he's going to be, I feel like he's going to be 7-8. Like the Warriors are going to be sitting there, praying they can draft him at 11, and then he's going to go 7 to somebody else or 8 to somebody else. When you look at, and that team's going to get a good play, but he would be absolutely perfect for the Warriors. But again, I think he's played too well in the tournament. And that was kind of that was my one note that I jotted down was him specifically. So it's funny you brought him up. And the note was, I think he's playing his way out of the Warriors range if they're going to be 11 and 12, which is making me more inclined to look at the fact that maybe the Warriors should move the pick. But we got to wait and see where it actually shakes out. And again, Mother's Day, the NBA draft lottery, if you're out having brunch with mom, or your wife or your significant other or whoever, you're out having lunch with mom, that the ping pong balls are going to be dropping.
Keep your eye on those ping pong balls.
Let's do a couple of chats here. Let's do like 3 or 4 chats to close it out. San Jose Jazz fan chimes in with neither Moses nor Saint Steph returning for Easter Sunday. Can you recommend a spiritual, astrological, or psychic advisor for guidance? Well, I mean, we do have Andrea, right? Our caller, that calls in on Giants postgame a lot. So I mean, maybe we could get a little warrior convo with Andrea. Thanks, San Jose. All right, let's do a couple more. Joke's on you. Warrior sales pitch. Come join Agent Curry. Ignore the knee that's chronic. The best feature is a voodoo doctor, Celebrini, who can resurrect the dead. Also, per his interview, Melton gone. I don't know. I don't know if Melton's going to be gone, but I think Melton's going to want to be paid a premium. This is Melton's chance to get paid. So he's going to want, I think Melton's taken the best team with the most money that he can get. All right, one more. And then we'll wrap it up here. I saw Kuminga's stat line and slept like a baby. Watch the highlights. Go to Brick Center. You will laugh your ass off. So, no, it was on Brick Center, or whatever that is, that account on social media, and it was just the highlight montage of just Kuminga being Kuminga, brother. Kuminga being Kuminga. All right, that's going to do it. Kyle, appreciate you. We're back tomorrow, late one tomorrow, right around 9:30 on a Sunday. Dubs OT, Warriors taking on the Nuggets in Denver. For Raf, have a great day on the Giants. I'm JD. Thanks to everybody in the chat, the callers, the texters. Marty Lurie coming up, talking baseball. Giants and the Yankees straight ahead right here on the Sports Leader.